Hello there. This is Laura with Stuff I Find Interesting. So if you're looking for interesting stuff, you've come to the right place. My name is Laura. I live in upstate New York, upstate-ish. And I spend entirely too much time online, and I look up stuff, and that's it, really. It's kind of boring, but yet not boring, because I'm talking about interesting things. Ultimately, I'm boring. The stuff is interesting. Okay. A little spastic today. As you know, the world's a little crazy. My personal life is pretty mellow, calm. Nothing really to complain about there. But the world, right? The world's a little... So, I'm a little off, as are probably all of you. And I kind of haven't done this for a while because A, I've been depressed, and B, I was like, nobody thinks this stuff is interesting but me. Clearly that's not true. There's 464 of you. So I said, self, get off your butt and talk about interesting stuff. So I've had this particular episode in the hopper for probably like 2 or 3 months. I don't even know. I've been adding on to it. It's not really in order properly, but you know what? We're just going to hit it. We're just going to go through it. Now, my guy is grocery shopping because he's amazing. So if the phone goes off, I have to stop the episode. So my cat will probably make an appearance. She's already started to pace. She's going to wait for the least convenient time to jump up here. She'll probably spill my water. It's happened before. So, how are all of you? How is everybody doing? Is everybody kind of hanging in there? You know, sometimes it's okay to just get through the day. Sometimes that's all we can do is get through the day. You know what I mean? And just do the best we can and hang on and not make things worse. Like my old therapist used to say, Laura, if you can't do anything else, just don't make things worse. It's good advice. Okay, we're going to recap some of the stuff we've talked about before. We're going to bring up topics, bring them back, the topics. Kozyrev chamber run. So this guy built a Kozyrev chamber for planetary alignment. See, you can see how old this thing is. Back on January 21st. There it is, next to the Christmas tree. Kozyrev chamber. Now, the Kozyrev chamber is a coiled piece of, I think, aluminum, but it has very specific measurements, and the coil is supposed to be a specific way. And when you sit in it, magic is supposed to happen. You're supposed to time travel, see things. I don't freaking know. This guy, though, is like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to do the Kozyrev mirror. This was the live, I think. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I should be afraid. Should I be afraid? I don't know what's going to come up. Could be all kinds of nonsense. I don't know if he did it. Did he do it? Oh, it's not there anymore. Okay, so he did the Kozyrev chamber. And let's see if there's any results, like what he says about, like any thoughts or whatever. It has its challenges. It ultimately went well. There were 3 occurrences that I noticed that were not ordinary. A helicopter on whisper mode dipped down into the next street over and observed me in the darkness. When I mentioned to my viewers there was a helicopter present, the helicopter flew away. There was a smell like wood plus some type of chemical I'm not even sure was wood. Also, there was a dog next door that was extremely agitated so much the owner had to take the dog away. Okay. All right, so Kozyrev chamber. In summary, maybe something to it, maybe not. Who knows? Archaeologists found 115,000-year-old human footprints where they shouldn't be. Now, I'm obsessed with deep time and really old civilizations. And am very attached to the idea that we have at times on this planet been more advanced and then less advanced. And it goes up and it goes down. And at the rate we're going right now, we're going to end up back in the less advanced, simply because we're going to blow ourselves up. But that's neither here nor there. I think I talked about the how old were those footprints? The ones in New Mexico, I think those were like 200 and something years old. So these were, let's see, I'm looking for, so there are a group of hills that have Neolithic structures. Here's the article. Human footprints in Saudi Arabia. If confirmed, the footfalls would represent the oldest evidence of Homo sapiens present on the Arabian Peninsula. 7 footprints pressed into the parched sediment of an ancient lakebed in northern Saudi Arabia may testify to humans' presence in the region some 115,000 years ago. Archaeologists scouring the Nifud Desert spotted the impressions while examining 376 footprints left in the mud of the bygone body of water by such animals as giant extinct elephants, camels, buffalo, and ancestors of modern horses. Now, a new analysis argues that anatomically modern humans created the 7 footprints between 112,000 years ago and 121,000 years ago. If confirmed, the footfalls would be the oldest traces of Homo sapiens ever found on the Arabian Peninsula. The find could help reveal the routes ancient humans followed as they pushed out of Africa into new territory. It's not a mystery. You follow the oasis. We've talked about this. Anyhow, to me that's obvious. To me that's like, duh, like, of course. But it's fascinating. It backs up what I'm like really excited about. So I'm like, yeah, cool, there it is. The deep population history of northern East Asia from the late Pleistocene to the Holocene. I saved this for a specific reason, and I don't remember why. Let's see what we got. Anatomically and behavioral modern humans were present in northern East Asia as early as 40,000 years ago. There was a specific thing I was going to talk about in here about the haplogroup. Oh, this is what I was talking about. So I've brought up the fact that remember we were talking about Sakhalin Island, right? Sakhalin Island is like over here where these little green dots are. That there are similarities between the people that live in Sakhalin Island, or Sakhalin, I think maybe it's how it's said, and people of Alaska, like way north Alaska, that there are these similarities, and it's because they're genetically related. And the reason why that's important is it shows that there was probably not just one wave of people coming to North America or out of North America or around the Mediterranean when it was really shallow. There have been multiple waves of people coming in and out like a breath on this planet. It's fascinating to think about. And when you think that way, when you think about deep time and the fact that cultures have existed for so long, it makes you think about deep time in the future. Like, are we going to be here? Will we be able to survive? Given the current trajectory of ourselves as a species, are we sustainable? I would say no, but that's just my opinion. For the person who has everything, a bowl studded with human teeth, Hawaii, 1819 or earlier. It was originally inlaid with 53 human teeth. This is a scrap bowl or spittoon for the use of a chief to preserve his food scraps and bodily fluids from being taken and used in sorcery. Teeth were removed by the relatives of the deceased chief as an act of sacrifice and mourning. They were also taken from defeated enemies and incorporated into the possessions of the victor. A hold at the side may have been for pouring. It's interesting. I think there's certain more orthodox sects of the Jewish religion where they also save their hair, fingernail clippings. I don't know about bodily fluids though. Maybe it's a totally different thing. It's similar, but it's same but different. Same but different. My last episode, I think I was talking about India, and we looked at the houses of Lebanon. That got me thinking of courtyards and how in my imaginary house that I'm going to live in someday, there is a courtyard. Perhaps it looks like this. Look how pretty that is. I just really love courtyards. In fact, that is why, and I think I've brought this up before, why I live where I live. I live on the roof of a bunch of stores, and it's a bunch of apartments circled around a courtyard. And the courtyard is what won me over. But joke's on me, they ripped the courtyard up. Now it's just like a big rubber, sort of like tarmac. It's not the same. Not what it used to be. For example, so like this is what it used to look like right here. See that? See how nice that looks? And there were these little beds. And it says it's a Class A apartment community consisting of 40 apartment homes and 9 street-level retail stores located on Main Street in Poughkeepsie, New York. Constructed in 1920, the property went through extensive renovation program in 2006. The property features a quiet interior courtyard leading to private entrances to each residence. It's cool. I love it. This is why I moved here. But they ripped out all those beds. Those beds are no longer here, so it looks kind of strange. But I have some ideas, maybe creating some kind of garden. I don't know if the landlords will go for that. Anyhow, more courtyard houses for your perusal. They will be in the links. Most of the stuff I share, I throw in the links. I make no claims to the safety of the sites, except to say that my computer seems to be okay rather than needing a couple of new fans. So I guess read at your own risk. I also very much enjoy the Chinese traditional Chinese courtyard house. These things, the Beijing courtyard. Oh, of course, as my fat face is in the way. Like these guys. Here we go. Like, look at that. That is so cool. So, if anybody wants to know what to get me for next Christmas, I will take a courtyard house. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next topic. What do I have? I don't even remember. Cave hunter in search of Slovenia's underground labyrinths. In addition to being fascinated with deep time, I am also fascinated with the deep earth and the underground and all those hidden places that we don't know about or very few people know about or we've never been. Some dedicate their lives to archaeology. Some dedicate their lives to the seas. Then there are others who have made it their mission to explore another ancient part of the world, caves. The grass flickered gently above a crack in the limestone, and Ludwig Husu instinctively knew he had found what he was searching for, a new cave in Slovenia's dramatic karst region. Karst is a type of stone. It erodes easier than, say, like granite. So as the water kind of comes and goes through the area, it can erode away the karst, creating caves. The seasoned cave enthusiast with more than 50 years' experience told agent France Press that the conditions were perfect. All signs pointed to something beneath as he felt the air current push up from above. So this guy's just kind of wandering around and finds a crack in the earth and goes, there's a cave down there. The 63-year-old had come across a new 60-meter, 196-foot deep for Americans, deep limestone cave, a discovery that made headlines this summer in a country that prides itself on its 14,000 underground grottos. The tiny alpine nation is unusually rich in caves, which are a major tourist attraction. One even houses an entire castle, another was used by the European Space Agency to help train astronauts. Perhaps best known is the Postojna cave system, the longest in Europe, unearthed by another amateur enthusiast 2 centuries ago. When local lamplighter Luka Sek decided to explore a hidden crack while scouting out the Postojna area for a visit by Austrian Emperor Franz Ferdinand, he is reputed to have said that he had stumbled on a new world, a paradise. And that particular cave system is 15 miles. 15 miles. And this is an example of like a cave grotto. Obviously one of the fancier ones. Pretty cool, right? Pretty interesting. Just fascinating. Here's the cave dudes. You can read the article, but look at that. Oh, it gives me the chills. I don't know that I could actually go there. Even though I'm fascinated with underground, I don't necessarily know that I could go underground like that. I I couldn't even finish the game Subnautica, right, or even get really super into it because my thalassophobia and fear of deep, dark places is so huge. I only got like 5% into the game, and I had to bail on it. It'll be in the links to the caves. You can check it out. This, I believe, is supposed to be mated with the other article about the footprints in Saudi Arabia. But they discovered that people lived in lava tubes in Saudi Arabia, which I thought was fascinating. Imagining like a whole family. So there's abundant rock art. There's hearth deposits, domesticated faunal remains, cattle, caprids, camels. It suggests that regions like Juba and Al-Shaba basins were important foci in the landscape for early pastoralists and their herds. So they would kind of go from place to place. The next oldest structures appear to be circular dwellings with upright stones and the large rectangular structures called mustalils, both dating from 7,200 years ago. The latter appears to have had ritualistic purpose as suggested by the intentional placement of selected wild and domestic animal remains, namely bucrania, as well as orthostats and small fires within the structure's chambers. More than their ritual purpose, it has been suggested that mustalils were important for maintaining socioeconomic and cultural links between families and the wider community through activities such as feasting, as well as having functioned as territorial markers. For your enjoyment, here we have a picture of one of the lava tubes that they found evidence of habitation with some stone structures in it. That would be, I mean, if you're in the desert and it's like super hot, you could like, come out, get your food or whatever, your water, and then kind of like go back in, escape the heat of the day. And all of this old stuff is not just relegated to other places like the Middle East or Europe. Archaeologists are finding dugout canoes in the American Midwest as old as the Great Pyramids of Egypt. So there's a millennia of indigenous history. So there was recently a 1,200-year-old dugout canoe discovered in Lake Mendota, Wisconsin. Tamara Thompson was 24 feet underwater when she spotted it, the decaying end of a dugout canoe, a great white oak carved from 1,200,000 years ago. It was jutting out of a sandy ridge in Wisconsin's Lake Mendota, a body of water skirting Madison, the state capital, and she knew it was a remarkable find. What I did not understand was the breadth of the discovery. Thompson was diving that day as a private citizen, chasing fish and collecting trash. More often, you'll find the maritime archaeologist in the Great Lakes surveying deep water sites for the Wisconsin Historical Society. Lake Mendota had not been on the archaeologist's radar, and she certainly wasn't hunting for dugout canoes. Thompson usually looks for shipwrecks like 19th century freighters. It might seem remarkable that she even recognized the find for what it was. Dugout canoes are simply hollowed out logs. So they continued the hunt in the area, and they discovered evidence that the Madison area was an indigenous metropolis before the arrival of Europeans, and it was the Ho-Chunk Nation, which is one of Wisconsin's 11 federally recognized tribes that lived in that particular area. There's a misconception that we had temporary villages here and there, but Madison was one large living community. Carving dugout canoes would have been a community occasion. Men would work multiple logs while families gathered, ate, and prepared for the coming season. The carving process with shelves or stone tools could take weeks or even months. Once complete, a canoe would sit along the shoreline for the whole village to use. Nearly as vital as to thriving as a fire, a working canoe meant open trade and shipping networks, fishing in deeper waters, and travel to faraway places. In winter, the Ho-Chunk would secure the vessels in shallow water to prevent them from drying out before spring. And there's more information, absolutely fascinating. So why is this not being screamed from the mountaintops. This super deep history in America. I tend to think it's because I mean, we haven't been here that long. We meaning my ancestors who came over from England or Scotland or whatever, Italy. We haven't been here that long. But the indigenous peoples have been here for like thousands of years. That makes our claim to this land tenuous, no? In my opinion, maybe that's why. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Maybe nobody even cares. But it's fascinating to think about. That there was this whole, thriving society. Both in America and in Saudi Arabia. But the Saudi Arabia, we were talking about the 115,000-year-old footprints, and then we were talking about the 7,200-year-old evidence of peoples living in lava tubes. This is going back only 1,200 years, so not quite as deep, but still impressive. And we're wrapping it up on the recap of stuff. There's always so much recap. Could the discovery of ancient canoes lead researchers to an underwater indigenous village? So a treasure trove of dugout boats could be just the beginning of what's to find in the Madison's Lake Mendota. So this is 3 years later. This is an update. They've now found more canoes, and they've also found more, some as old as 3,000 years old. They found a whole treasure trove of stuff, and they're scooping out artifacts. And Tamara Thompson was the one who found the other one as well. So she is clearly a very lucky lady. But she has the eye. She's an archaeologist. She knows what to look for. I think I've shared this picture before. I do. This is the Porta Pradella. It's an old Roman thing. And here it is in the process of being demolished. Looking for a picture of what it looked like. So this is the Pradella Gate. This is what's left. But it was part of a much bigger structure. All right, I think I had a grand plan with all of this, and then I didn't finish or put it together properly, so it's just kind of a mess. Let's Google this, because I don't remember why I thought this was interesting. It was built in 1242 during a period of urban expansion and rebuilding of the city's defenses. Oh my God.
Delegate.
Oh, Jesus. What the Don't go there. We're not sharing that link. Holy shit. Pardon my language. Okay, so 1242 is being wrecked. I think that just struck me. That's all. That it was this super old thing, and that I was part of the defensive system. Here's another picture of it. That's an incredible picture. And what is that thing hanging down? And there's another one over there. Or is that on top? That's very confusing. Not a whole lot. I think that's what I was obsessed with. I think I found the one picture and was like, oh, well, I'll just find some more pictures of the thing before they started demolishing it. And then I was frustrated because I wasn't able to really find what I was looking for. And then I ended up here with this PDF, which talks about the history a little bit. Yeah, okay. Moving on. How's everybody doing? We're doing all right? We still interested? Still interested in the interesting stuff? We're starting to get into conspiracy land. But first, we are going to get rid of the political stuff, because we don't need to talk about political stuff, right? We don't need to talk about it. We know stuff sucks. We don't really need to go into more depth than that. Okay. This is something I found interesting simply because when I think of Australia, I think of kangaroos, maybe sandstorms, scorpions, spiders. but I definitely do not think of tornadoes, and apparently they happen all the time in Australia. And a man was looking at Google Earth, much like I look at Google Earth all the time, and he found an enormous, mysterious scar etched into the barren landscape, which started him looking into what happened. Tornadoes have been reported on every continent except Antarctica. They most commonly occur in the Great Plains region of the United States, and we're heading into tornado season. March. They're saying it's going to be bad. And in the northeast region of India, Bangladesh, which you also don't think of tornadoes. The earliest tornado observed by settlers in Australia occurred in 1795 in the suburbs of Sydney, but a tornado was not confirmed here by Western scientists until the late 1800s. In recent decades, documented instances in Australia include a 2013 tornado that crossed northeast Victoria and traveled up to the New South Wales border. It brought winds between 250 to 300 kilometers an hour. See, here comes the cat. Hi, Spaz. How we doing? Come on. She needs to sit on my lap. So, what are you doing? So if I look down and talk, I'm not talking to my crotch. I'm talking to my cat who's sitting right there. You're like, oh, she's lost it. This is a list of maps, some of which may or may not be active. But I'm always looking for different maps because it is my opinion that some maps on some platforms are heavily censored. Imagine that. For good reasons, obviously, in some cases, right? But, like, there's stuff that used to be there that's not there. So I'm always looking around for stuff. This is Blue Marble Navigator. What's this? Let's look at what this is. Let's go to 2015. And let's go to satellite. 2012. Satellite. Let's go to my favorite thing to look at. The Richat structure. Nice. Okay, so here we have the Richat 2012. Now let's go to 2013. I don't think that looks any different. Do you think that looks any different? I don't think that looks any different. Anywho, more map stuff for you to play around. What are you doing? What's going on? She's going like this, looking around. I found this cool site called Proantic, and they have furniture, fine art, jewelry and watches, decor, collections. One of my hobbies is identifying stuff online. Like someone will say, oh, I found this cool table, or I found this cool, necklace. Where did it come from? What is it? And so I'm always also on the lookout, in addition to maps, for random things like this. So what could we look up? That's collections, decorative objects, textiles and clothing. Let's look at textiles and clothing. Let's go to, oh Jesus, let's not go there. I guess you can't really sort it. Here we have a costume from Indochina, traditional handmade costume. It's fun to look at this stuff and learn about other people or places through the things that they owned. Jewelry and watches. Can I sort by price or no? Beautiful. Look at that. So back in the day, I used to have a business, as I think I've mentioned before, Antiques Collectibles. I had my own store. And which I rented from this guy named Nicky in exchange for helping him out. So I used to see all kinds of things that would come in all the time. These beautiful, insane pieces that were just going to be melted down or that were of no interest to anybody else except for me. And I had an amazing collection of items. Um, and then there was something that happened. I went to the hospital. And while I was in the hospital, the guy that I was with started selling my stuff on eBay. I'm not making that up. I cannot begin to tell you how awful it is to come home after several weeks and to go online and see your stuff sold. And you're like, ugh. So, but things like that happen when you make really poor choices in the people that you surround yourself with. And that's exactly what had happened. I think I saved this simply because of the kitty cat in there, but you can't really see him that well. His face is kind of covered up. You know, my love for medieval art. See, look at that kitty cat. And then this dude is going, hey. It's from 1420, and this dude doing this is universal, right? That's probably what he said in the picture. The tornado scar thing. There's the research article about the tornado scar. Ties into the other article. Remember I said I didn't go through and really organize this. I'm just blasting to try to get one out there. So San Francisco, as you probably know or may not have thought about recently, in 1906, the city basically burned down. And these are some professional photos of the day that happened. And it's, I mean, look at that. Like the city is just gone. These pictures are incredible. Especially when you consider it's not like the guy or gal had a thing and just went chick. There was like major equipment involved. They had to drag their equipment, set it up in not great conditions, it looks like. When I went to San Francisco, I thought that the area outside of San Francisco was some of the most beautiful land I had ever seen. And for a long time, I told myself I was going to move to Petaluma. That was like a city I kind of fell in love with. I'm pretty happy where I am right now, though, so I don't feel the need to move to Petaluma. These pictures are just incredible. And this picture on the back, it says, "This is the way we live." And there's tents. Someone wrote that probably in a fit of grief, rage. They've lost everything. They have nothing left. They're living in a tent. And they're like, this is the way we live. Look at that carnage. Anyhow. Moving on to ancient ruins. This is just a Google Earth thing, and I just enjoy poking around. But for some reason, I thought it was maybe not. Where am I going here? I was touring around the city. Look at how old that wall is. That wall must be ancient. Can I go in there? Nope, I can't go in there. Sometimes I'll pick a random city and I'll just kind of walk around and look at stuff. Sometimes I look at my own city and I find funny things. Like, for example, is it? I think it's here. Oh, wow, it changed. I think. Yeah, it's not the same people. It's not the same image. Because the last time I went here and I was on Google Earth, um, so this is Casablanca and it's a bodega and a lot of kind of maybe not so savory people hang out there. And there's this one guy he tries to stay out of trouble. But I saw him one day and I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he was like, I'm good, Miss Lane, I'm good." And I said, "Staying out of trouble?" And he said, "Yep." And I said, "Well, when you pull up Google Earth for 392 Main Street, there you are, right in front of the bodega, hanging out with the baddies." And he was like, "Oh." But I see it changed already, which is interesting. Herculaneum virtual tour. You can explore. Wow. Incredible photos, right? I'm starting to get lost. I'm starting to forget that I'm on camera and I'm like scrolling through everything. Like, ooh, ah. So I think I'm starting to get a little impatient with myself, not finding this stuff to be as interesting. So we're gonna move briskly through. Ah, there goes my cat. Through some other stuff. 2 tiger cubs were released in Siberia. They reunited as mates after a trek of 120 miles. Reuniting as mates, they've not only adapted to the wild, but sparked new hope for survival of the Amur tigers. I only have a couple of tattoos. I know I'm boring. And you can't even see them. Unless you are like my doctor, I guess. But I have a tattoo of an Amur tiger. In the frigid forests of Siberia, a story worthy of a Disney adaptation is unfolding. Boris and Svetlana, 2 orphan Amur tigers, have defied the odds and showed tremendous resilience after being reintroduced into the wild. They not only survived their release into the wild, but also found each other again against all expectations, sparking hope for the future of their critically endangered species. Their story begins in the rugged Sakhalin Mountains, where most Amur tigers lived. Orphaned as cubs in 2014, they were rescued by conservationists and brought to a specialized rehabilitation program. There, they were trained to live as wild tigers free from human dependence. At 18 months old, the 2 were released back into the wild over 100 miles apart to maximize their species' range. And they found each other. How cool is that? Some houses I was looking at. Look at this house. Oh my God. It's beautiful. I think this is just a random house that I fell in love with. How could you not fall in love with it? Look at this house. It's incredible. But does it have a courtyard? I think it does, actually. Kind of. Beautiful house. I love all the wood. It's an incredible room. Only $4 million. It's a deal. I didn't look at where this thing is, though. Thinking it's probably a foreign country. Incredible house. Everything about it is just, just wow. Blows me away. It's perfect. Look at that. It's a funky little room. So this house is in, it's in California for $4 million. Let's go. All right. Now we're heading into conspiracy land. Nicholas Roerich, 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 Nikolai Konstantinovich Roerich. Okay. He was a Russian painter, writer, archaeologist, theosophist, philosopher, and public figure. In his youth, he was influenced by Russian symbolism, a movement in Russian society centered on the spiritual. He was interested in hypnosis and other spiritual practices, and his paintings are said to have hypnotic expression. Born in St. Petersburg to a well-to-do Baltic German father and to a Russian mother, he lived in various places of the world, blah, blah, blah. He was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for being a dedicated activist for the cause of preserving art and architecture during times of war. But I think I just saved it because I wanted to show you his art, which I enjoy very much. I'm going to save that image. That's really cool, right? Self-portrait, another painting by him. I think I was just sharing his art. I don't know that I had any particular conspiracy bent yet. No, I was just looking at his art. His stuff is so nice to look at. Let's look at some of it and listen to some music, shall we? Before I talk about the GATE program.
So let's see, we'll go like this. Does that make sense?
All right. If you want to listen to that some more, it'll be in my links. I love the song. It's got 1,000 views, and all of them are probably from me. So let's see. What was I going to talk about? We'll save that for another time. There's something I can share. We'll save that for another time. We'll save that for another time. Okay, we're going to go here. But what I did want to show you before I go on is that these are dinosaur tracks. And this is a person standing below. And they're looking up at the dinosaur tracks from 68 million years ago. So this cliff, I mean, it used to be flat. And then through the movement of stuff, it got pushed up. Look at that. Because obviously it didn't walk up the wall. But it just goes to show the power of geology and the earth. You know, we as humans, we think of ourselves as so powerful, but, you know, we're really not at all, even remotely. I guess there's a dinosaur park there. It's kind of neat, right? There's these dinosaur tracks going straight up the mountain. They have to rappel in order to study them. That's crazy. Crazy. 68 million years ago, guys. That's a really long time ago. Okay, gate program. Okay. Talked about this before. We're going to talk about it in more depth right now. When I was 9 years old, I was in a program called ESP. And it didn't stand for ESP. It stood for something else, but it was for gifted kids. And it was a program, and we did a lot of very strange things. We did Zener cards, which I have, and I'll show you. We did trying to read each other's minds. We did verbal exercises, like neurolinguistics. Like, I know that that's what it is now. At the time, I didn't know that that's what it was. We built things. We did mind experiments, thought experiments, advanced math and algebra. But it was the psychic stuff that was really weird. That was a really strange component of the whole thing. So, intro. Read this carefully, for it will change your life. Apply what you read, because unused information is worthless. The human bears a spirit that does not die nor sleep during the deepest sleep. It records all thoughts and motions and informs the human whether his thoughts are correct or false, if he has learned to pay attention. The spirit within the human is the bearer of the creative realm, and every human has his own spirit. And it goes on, and it has all these kind of spiritual things, blah, 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 blah. Spirit. But the part that I wanted to get to is really far down, apparently. Abraham Tannenbaum was a teacher in Brooklyn's public schools for more than 20 years. He led many research studies focused on gifted students and helped various organizations, including the Head Start program. His research and writing focus on underachievement, the gifting and learning disabled, as well as the economically disadvantaged. So there was the C-STAR model of giftedness. 5 factors that facilitate talent: general ability, special ability, non-intellectual traits, environmental supports, and chance. So strong self-concept, internal and external motivation to achieve, persistent in a task and committed in an area of interest, visualizes images and translates into other forms, divergent thinker, contributes new concepts, methods, products, performances, has a holistic view, uses unique solutions to problems. So some of this is just like, someone's just like, you know, making themselves feel good about being smart. But so there's some really good stuff in here, like being a divergent thinker, trouble accepting authority, pushes boundaries, learns best by immersing, different from other students his or her age, very motivated to learn, persistent, observant, and pays attention to detail. So it was part of the American system. Kids are put through a screening test around grades 3 to 4, which is when it happened to me, and some are selected by the results of the test to go into separate classes, sometimes separate schools for a day or so each week. Here they are given the most advanced memes the state has in order to ensure they follow the rest of the cattle, or better yet, become the left-wing memes and get handed the keys to the gate. So this person is saying it's a left conspiracy, I guess. I've heard other people say it's the right conspiracy. I don't think it's really a conspiracy. I think the government really studied this stuff in kids. And it wasn't necessarily like, I don't know if they necessarily expected major outcomes, but so a few similarities about gait. Blue eyes, occipital bun, back of the head, birth complications. I was born early. Near-death experiences. I've had a couple of those. Lack of memory of gait. I actually forgot about it until maybe 5 years ago or something. And I was like, wait a minute, I was in that weird program. The windows were covered. Yes, the windows were covered in the program. The tendency to being followed, I don't know about all that. Um, Interest in phenomena, X phenomena, like what we're talking about now, heavy early 20s drug period, maybe. Forehead scars, early speech therapy, firstborn sons, migraines, Israeli art student girlfriends. I had an Israeli art student boyfriend. I don't know if that counts. Me, magic. I share medieval cat memes that people like. Maybe that's premonitions, prophetic dreams. I've definitely had those my whole life. Above average intuition. So, I think some of my abilities are actually from trauma, not necessarily because I'm particularly smart, although I do think I have some natural aptitude for thinking and I have a good memory. But I think the stuff I went through as a kid, I think it made me hyper vigilant. I think it made me second guess everything. I think it made me more aware of people's motivations, other people's internal states, their psychology, what they might be thinking, what they're going to do. And that's because as a kid, I had to think that way to minimize my ass getting beat or other things happening to me. So, anyhow, the gift of trauma, ladies and gentlemen. Yay! Children who exhibit intellectual intensity can concentrate for long periods of time and are often avid readers. They can be great problem solvers and may spend prolonged periods preoccupied with logic and theoretical thinking. They can also be highly moral, which can lead to conflict with peers who are less aware of ethical issues. These children are often remarkably sensitive to injustice, not only when it affects them personally, but also when it affects anyone around them. So that's actually very true of me. Anyhow, I've tried to mold myself into the kind of person that's going to care about ethical issues and that's going to care about other people, even if they don't care back, even if it's not everybody. There are exceptions, people that do not deserve, in my opinion. But we're talking extreme criminals. Chronic underachievement. Yup, that's me. Heightened self-awareness. Yup. So anyhow, there's more about the GATE program and this weirdo. Look at these eyebrows. I'm not sure what this guy. Okay, this goes like way out there. Oh, this is the what do you call it? GATE. Clockwork Orange type experimentation wherein we were forced as kids to watch videos against their will to associate, I don't know, okay, it goes way out there with Project Monarch and MK Ultra, and I don't know that I go that far. I do think there was more to it than I knew about or than we knew about. But I remember there was Tracy, Brenovan, Craig, Matthew, and myself. The 5 of us were in this program. And we went to the, I think it was Netherwood is the name of it, school. Netherwood School was the rich kids' school. Like, that's where, like, the rich kids went. And we would go there, and we would study or do whatever. So, how many of you have been in the GATE program? And it said, I was in it. I was tested and scored high. Unfortunately, I also have severe depression and anxiety. Yeah, me too, right definition. I'm sorry. I was tested for it. My parents wouldn't let me join. The GATE program stuff you had in the U.S. sounds kind of creepy. There was also noises through headphones. I was in GATE in California, off-the-wall tests and projects that never made much sense. So my memories seem to be similar to other people, that it was just kind of weird. And of course, as a kid, juxtaposed against like a kid brain, you're not really developed, you don't have a lot of experience. Some of the stuff might have seemed more weird because we were so young. So this talks about who truly is gifted. I don't know that I'm gifted. I'm smart though. Flashcards, blah 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 blah. There was the headphones. Oh, the Rorschach. Yeah, they had the blobs, and we had to look at the blobs and say what the blobs look like. And it used to be called, it was also called TAG. It was also called Bright and Gifted. Let's see. So there's some more interesting stuff you can read, other people's experiences with this particular program. And I've told this story before, I think, where we had to go into a cubby. So there were like these little cubbies, and they were all kind of like along the floor, like where kids would put their jackets and their book bags and stuff. And we had to climb into them. And so there were 10 of us that were in these cubbies, and then there were other kids like under the table and like a couple in the corner. But the idea is we were supposed to get hidden and kind of like cover our head. Then a classmate went out into the hallway and had a book and closed their eyes and imagined that they were sending information to the people in the classroom of what they were looking at. And then we did that for, 5 minutes. And then the teacher or teachers or whatever they were would go, "Time's up." And we would rush to the table and we would have to draw what it was that we saw. I drew a tree and I crossed it out. And I was like, no. Then I drew an apple and I crossed it out. And I was like, no. And then I drew an old man. And it turns out that the picture that the kid was looking at in the hallway while I was hiding in a cubby with my eyes closed was an old man carved into an apple tree. So, make of that what you will. Does that mean I'm psychic? No, not necessarily. I think we're all psychic. I think we can all pick up on things. Like I said, I think the things I went through as a kid, I think have given me heightened. I'm just able to pick up on stuff. My antenna is a little bit longer and stronger. And I am a firm believer in morphic resonance, which we've talked about before. Morphic resonance being those invisible energy bonds that link us, all living creatures. Morphic resonance, an example of morphic resonance would be you're at work. You come home early. You weren't expecting to come home early, but you went home early. And your dog was waiting for you. Your dog, knew that you were coming. And let's say there's some way that they couldn't hear your car or whatever, but they just knew. They knew that you were coming. They knew that you were coming home. And it's because we're all kind of connected through these different, I hate to say frequencies. It sounds kind of woo, but yeah, it is. There's things that we cannot see. Anyhow. This is a new ancient history guy that I found, the Ancient History Hound podcast. This is about Pliny the Younger.
Letters, legal dramas, religion, and having a boss who was apparently literally worse than Nero. It's time to look at Pliny the Younger.
Pliny, not Pliny. Sorry, History Hound. Pliny. So anyhow, I found this guy, and I really like his stuff. And he has a nice voice, which is always great. Like my voice, I know is not great. I know I have vocal fry, and I know people really hate that.
Hey, strangers.
Hey, strangers.
Welcome to another episode of the Strange Sessions. I'm declaring it officially spooky.
So these two people are talking about the GATE program as well. So there's like a little bit more stories, more stuff that they did. And then it kind of does go into some wild speculation, which is always kind of fun. And I don't know that I necessarily believe in the wild speculation. But where's the Zener cards test? Oh no, where am I? Oh wow. I went a little too far. Let's see what we got. More on GATE for you to enjoy and read. I did want to got a little carried away here. All right. I don't know what I did. I got myself all crazy. Now I'm going to blow up my computer. Because I opened up too many bookmarks. Okay, that's political. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to get rid of that. Oh, morphic fields. I did save some stuff about morphic fields. We'll save that for another time. Oh, yeah, we're not. No politics. No politics. No politics. No politics. No politics. No politics. We're just going to stay away from the politics. So, Poughkeepsie made the news. Poughkeepsie's massive crow roost. Each fall, 10,000 or more crows choose Poughkeepsie for their largest roost in hundreds of miles. Experts know just a little bit about why. As the weather cools off, crows flock to Poughkeepsie by the thousands to join a communal roost, a ritual that's been occurring in the area for at least 4 decades. Though the exact roost site changes slightly from year to year, the crows invariably arrive as the temperatures drop. The Poughkeepsie Crow Roost is the largest for hundreds of miles, and with trains and bridges carrying thousands of commuters right past, the incredible gathering of birds provokes fascination at its scale. Even the experts aren't immune to wondering at it. Fox's Pop Rich Guthrie, a retired ornithologist who compiles the Catskill bird count for the National Audubon Society, recalls watching nightly years ago when he lived along the crow's flight path in Poughkeepsie. I used to live along the flight path, and I would see them. They would just keep going and going and going and going and going and going. I saved a lot of apparently a lot of stuff. Here we go. Okay, so getting back to the GATE program, as I got distracted, we have to back up these other people talking about GATE and TAG with stories, which you might find interesting. It's over an hour. It's kind of long. I sort of jumped around and listened to it. My stuff's probably a little long too, so where'd they go? Where'd the Zener cards go? I just had them. Okay, so Zener cards. These are cards that they did. So what you do is you have to guess what the next card is going to be. So you know what? We're just going to go through it. Okay, well, let's put in a name. Okay. See, I kind of had it right there for a while, but then I started screwing up. Hang on, let me back it up. Okay, so I got 36% of that right. So, I mean, is that high? Let's see what we got here. We have 24, 20, we have another 36%er. And I did that well, obviously, while not concentrating. I feel like I could probably get a higher number than that. Someone got 48%. Sasha's being all psychic. Let's see who we got. 28, 24. Okay. So, yeah, 36%. That's pretty cool, right? I like that. That's neat. Okay, we're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of that. I'm not sure what this is. Well, this is tragic. Okay. Last thing we'll do. Talk about GATE. There goes my phone. Probably gonna put on some music and wrap it up here. I'll be home in 5 minutes. Okay, guys.
We're excited to share something new at B&H. Whether you're in New York City, across the U.S., or...
So last thing we're going to finish with are some abandoned churches. It'll be in the links for you to enjoy and look at. Hope everybody has a good week. Apologies for the messiness of this particular session. I'll try to do a better job next time. All right, guys. Thank Thanks so much for watching.